Practices. The second and third way.
Welcome to Lesson 9. In this lesson, we'll study the practices that are associated with the second and third DevOps ways. You'll remember that the second way refers to how we improve and amplify feedback loops, and the third way refers to continuously experimenting and learning. The practices that we'll be studying are feedback loops, experimentation and learning, the Deming cycle, improvement kata, and preparing for failure.
Let's start with the second way of DevOps, which is concerned with feedback. The diagram on your screen shows a typical information flow in many organizations. Information flows from left to right, from development to quality assurance, then to ops. What's needed is an additional information flow from right to left, providing feedback to development resources. The second way stresses the importance of right to left feedback. Organizations also need to make sure there is time to react to feedback and incorporate any lessons learned. A goal of the second way is to shorten and amplify right-to-left feedback loops, so necessary corrections can be made. Feedback loops need to be short so that feedback is received in a timely manner. To amplify feedback, it's helpful to use tools like dashboards that provide at-a-glance information. Without easily visible feedback, teams don't have the information they need to make improvements. Shorter feedback loops have many benefits, as you can see here. They enable sharing and knowledge growth, trust, a better understanding of internal and external customers, faster detection and fixing of problems and defects, and process improvements, leading to better flow, faster delivery, and less reactive, unplanned work. Let's consider feedback loops with an exercise. Spend about 10 minutes on this exercise. Consider a typical software development project. Code will move from development environments to various staging and test environments before it goes live. Try and think of 10 opportunities for feedback during this process. For example, automated testing might give us some feedback. If you'd like to base this on the processes in your own organization or think about other organizations you've worked with, either will work well. That completes our look at the practices that support the second way. Feedback is a critical part of DevOps because it helps us identify opportunities to improve. Does your organization collect feedback during development and operations? How is that feedback used? Now we're moving on to look at the practices that support the third way. We'll study experimentation and learning, the Deming cycle, improvement kata, and preparing for failure. Continual experimentation and learning need to be part of our organizational culture to be adopted successfully. Teams need to have time allocated for the improvement of daily work, and they need to have rituals that reward them for taking risks. For example, introducing faults into systems deliberately can feel counterintuitive, but it actually helps organizations to increase their resilience. A goal of the third way is to create a culture that fosters two things: continual experimentation, taking risks and learning from failure, and understanding that repetition and practice is the prerequisite to mastery. Organizations need both aspects of the third way equally: experimentation and learning. Experimentation and taking risks will keep pushing us to improve, even if that takes us into the danger zone. We also need to master the skills that will get us out of the danger zone. Companies need to have a culture that rewards innovation and doesn't punish failure. Risk-taking is good. Carelessness and laziness are not. Here's a quote from Charles Jennings, a world-leading expert on building and implementing learning strategies. "The point is to extract learning from work, not impose more work." We want to avoid being busy fools. A busy fool is always working but on the wrong things and not really making any progress. The diagram on your screen is an example of experimentation and learning. Organizations can use small experiments that can be built quickly and at a relatively low cost to provide quick feedback in learning. A pivot is a structured course correction designed to test a new fundamental hypothesis about the product or strategy. Notice there is an option to abandon the hypothesis. Many organizations have poured millions of dollars into projects that they have felt have gone too far to abandon. The goal of experimentation and learning is to get feedback quickly and to take the right action based on it. The next practice that supports the third way is the Deming cycle, or Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle. We've already mentioned this during the course, as it's useful for implementing all types of improvement. You can see a simple version of the Deming cycle on screen. You might also know it as the Shewhart cycle. It enables incremental improvements, maintaining momentum, and ensuring the organization doesn't roll back into old ways of working. Remember, small incremental changes have more chance of success than large disruptive changes. The Deming cycle is a continuous improvement cycle structured around 4 steps. Click on each step to learn more. Plan includes planning ahead for the change that will be made. This includes analysis of the current state and what needs to be done. The expected results are predicted, roles are allocated, and the method of measuring the results will be agreed. Do executes the plan. Small steps are taken in controlled circumstances, introducing change without major disruption. Check measures performance and studies the results. Act reviews and learns from performance. In this step, we will take action to standardize or improve the process based on feedback. Here's a quote from Mike Orzen, a member of the teaching faculty at the Lean Enterprise Institute. Even more important than daily work is the improvement of daily work. What do you think about this statement? Do you agree? How would you apply it in your organization? Our next area for study is the improvement kata. This is a structured way to create a culture of continuous learning and improvement, also referred to as a Kaizen culture. Kaizen is a Japanese business philosophy of continuous improvement of working practices, personal efficiency, and other areas. A kata is a structured way of thinking and acting that is practiced until the pattern becomes a habit. Through practice, the pattern becomes second nature. Practicing the improvement kata should be a daily occurrence, not an add-on or when we have time project. To make the improvement kata pattern a habit in an organization, managers should teach and coach the routines every day. The improvement kata builds on discoveries that are made along the way. This is different than many traditional continual improvement methods that try and predict the path and focus on the implementation effort. The improvement kata comes from the Toyota organization and is part of the Toyota kata. The steps are: understanding the long-term vision or direction, grasp the current condition, establish the next target condition, plan, do, check, act, or experiment towards the target condition. The 4 steps in the process focus on learning and improving work. You can see an illustration of the kata here. As with any improvement project, we need to be aligned to the long-term vision of our organization. We also need to understand our current state, so we know where to focus our efforts. The 5 questions are used as a guide through the plan, do, check, act cycles to remove obstacles that are impediments to reaching the target condition. We'll take a look at them next. Once a set of obstacles has been removed, we can focus on the next target condition. These are the 5 questions used to help deal with obstacles as part of the improvement kata. What is the target condition? What is the actual condition? This will draw on the results of previous katas. What obstacles do you think are preventing you from reaching the target condition? Which ones are being addressed now? What is your next step? Using a plan, do, check, act, or experimental approach, what do you expect to happen? When can we go and see what we have learned from taking that step? Teams using the improvement kata learn as they strive to reach a target condition and adapt based on what they are learning. Here's one more quote before we study our final topic in this lesson, preparing for failure. Tom Peters is an American writer on business management practices. Excellent firms don't believe in excellence, only in constant improvement and constant change. How does your organization react to change? Is it welcomed, or is it seen as something inconvenient? Our final topic in this lesson is preparing for failure. We've touched on this in earlier lessons. Getting stronger through failure is the basis of anti-fragility. Organizations will use tools like the chaos monkey to introduce disorder and see how they react. Failure is inevitable, but how we respond to it is not. The results of planned failure can help organizations to apply automation to limit the impact when big problems occur. Think about recent outages that may have been in the news near you. Can you think of a story that affects a bank, a retail organization, or even a stock exchange? They might need to adopt a chaos monkey to help them recover faster. Okay, that brings us to the end of our studies of the practices that support the 3 ways. Let's bring it all together with an exercise now. You'll need to plan to spend about 20 minutes on this exercise. The diagram on your screen shows a continuous deployment flow. How does continuous deployment support each of the 3 ways? Good luck! When you're ready to move on, click the Next button. We're going to close this lesson by looking at some emerging areas of DevOps practices. DevOps is evolving all the time, so it's important to make sure you continue your own research in blogs and DevOps communities. We'll study rugged DevOps, DevSecOps, ChatOps. Rugged DevOps is focused on creating software that is survivable, defensible, secure, and resilient, in addition to the normal DevOps characteristics of speed and quality. Security vulnerabilities are viewed as defects that affect the stability of a product or a service. Rugged DevOps embeds security and risk management into the continuous delivery pipeline. This type of thinking addresses some organizations' concerns about DevOps leaving them vulnerable or with fragile systems by identifying security issues quickly and providing automatic audit trails. DevSecOps is security-focused DevOps. It is based on the principle that everyone is responsible for security and ensures security is considered during design and development, not just in operations. DevSecOps uses shift-left thinking, identifying and resolving issues early in the delivery pipeline. It leverages automation for resilience, testing, detection, and audit. ChatOps is a communication approach that supports collaboration and helps teams work together in a single, often virtual chat room. ChatOps supports conversation-driven development, delivery, and support, and helps to shorten feedback loops. For example, Dev and Ops teams can both use the same chat room and share issues together. Would ChatOps help in your organization? Information shared in a chat needs to be managed, for example, to make sure that where relevant, it is moved to other locations like knowledge bases. When you're ready to move on, click the Next button. There's a short quiz for you before the end of this lesson.
That completes Lesson 9. In this lesson, we've studied the practices that are associated with the second and third DevOps ways. We've studied feedback loops, experimentation and learning, the Deming cycle, improvement kata, and preparing for failure. Remember, you'll need to know which way each practice is associated with for your exam.